y'all, welcome to Adventures with Aggie, brought to you by the Ryan Martin Foundation. Today we're featuring the CFO of PER4MAX, Chris Kommer. Please welcome Chris.
Well, Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for making the time to speak with me. I'm excited to get to know lots more about you, your story, and PER4MAX. But first, could you just kind of give me some background into who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I am just a regular guy in Michigan here. So now Chris Kommer, born and bred in West Michigan. I'm here now, sitting by the lake at the house. So and I just this is my remote headquarters for what we do in adaptive sports. And I was hurt in a boating accident as a child. I was 9 years old then, and it opened up a world of adaptive sports to me. And wheelchair basketball was my sport of choice, and it's really just been a big part of my entire life now as as a amputee and a mentor for, I hope, many. It's kind of my life's mission to be out there and help other people, right? And show them the way, whether it's adaptive sports or living with an amputation, or someone that's faced with something. I'm a dad, most importantly. So I have three wonderful children here, and then a business, right, with PER4MAX. So my wheelchair basketball career kind of created all these amazing opportunities, and one of them was to be a part of PER4MAX wheelchairs as a user, and then it segued into ownership. So I've been involved with ownership with a business now since 2010. Me and my wonderful partner Willie Hernandez. I don't know if he's been spotlighted on here, but he's great, as well as Jason Elms. And we've been just trying to tackle the adaptive sports community one chair at a time, and helping and touching one life at a time. Is all we can do, right? And those small pieces end up turning into something much bigger. We're proud to be a part of that. So
That's awesome. So many things. You must be busy, family, business, playing. You're still playing wheelchair basketball as well. Lots going on.
Yeah, trying to play. Through the pandemic, it's been interesting. We've been blessed to have some gym time, and I'm actually taking off next weekend to go to Dallas and play in the DK 3-on-3 tournament. So it's an annual tournament that Dave Kiley hosts, and this one will be a cool one too. So there's a lot of prize money on the line, and a lot of really good athletes coming out. So it'll be a fun outing, and fun to get back on the court with my buds and my peers and my people.
For sure. Awesome. Cool. I guess I want to backtrack a little bit. Can you tell us how you first got involved with wheelchair basketball? How did you find the sport?
Yeah. So I was 9 years old. That's 1995 for perspective. And I was in a boating accident, right? And had a really great support system of family and people. And I was introduced to adaptive sports and a wheelchair sports camp here in West Michigan shortly after my injury. And it was an opportunity to get in a sports wheelchair and try a bunch of different sports. I was one of the younger kids there, but there was a lot of older kids there that have been competing or playing in their own sports for quite a while. And I was introduced to all the adaptive sports, if you will, at that time that were available. And wheelchair basketball was what obviously stuck for me. That I went on to play that next season, and really didn't understand what I was starting, right? Because it's kind of become a lifetime thing now. So
yeah, you never realize that first step or that first touch of something, how much it might evolve into, which is super cool. I think I did the same with this show. I had no idea that we would be 30 something episodes in, and maybe, I don't know, 15 or 20 of those have been about wheelchair basketball, which is so exciting. I love it. But awesome. Okay, let's talk about PER4MAX a little bit. How did you first join the PER4MAX family?
Right. So that's kind of in touch with, like my basketball career. So I start playing in 1995 and 1997. I'm teammates with somebody that a lot of people might understand is Paul Schulte. My coach is Lee Montgomery, two like kind of leaders and mentors for me. Paulie went on to go on to college, and Lee is still my coach to this day. But both of them kind of propelled me through wheelchair basketball. And what that created was a problem with my equipment, right? I was having a hard time with my chairs holding up to the level of play that I was getting to, specifically in like my teenage years. And I was starting to prepare to go to college, and I was introduced to PER4MAX by a close friend that I grew up with in West Michigan, that also went to UTA. He's an amputee, Joe Bermania. And I was a consumer first, right? So I met Willie, and got my first PER4MAX chair. I think this was 2002, right? So the company was maybe 2 or 3 years old at the time. And something in my head, this guy makes wheelchairs. This is amazing. I can tell him what I want specifically. So, we made a custom chair, and it was good. But where I live here in West Michigan, my family is involved in manufacturing. So my dad would take my chair and help make improvements to things, right, that we were having issues with. Just because I was playing on a junior team, I was playing on a men's team, and then I also was a part of the development USA stuff at the time, right? So every weekend I had a game, or I was playing at a high level, and you have to show up ready to play, right? Your equipment gets beat up. If our audience understands wheelchair basketball, they know it, especially if any of them have seen me play, they would understand. So that all just kind of developed into a relationship with Willie at a young age, and he was really helpful with me and my equipment, and I was able to help him get more customers. I would help him, I would influence like others to get the similar setups that I have, or a chair from them. So I did some sales stuff for them, and eventually it turned into an opportunity to become his business partner, right? So it was amazing. And that was about 10 years, they were 10 years into their business, right? I had been involved with it for a good portion of that already, just as a consumer, and supporting the brand and the product, right? And then once I was able to come on board, we brought in a nice team. There's some existing employees that are fantastic, that are still there today, and then mesh that with our new team. And it's been great. It has its struggles like any business. You have to kind of keep on that grind, and I wear many hats within the organization. So it's kind of jumping from one thing to the next, and hoping that you're getting everything taken care of. Our number one is our customer, all right, is we're a direct to consumer wheelchair manufacturer, if you will. So our most important person in this whole component is our customer, right? And making sure they're happy with the product that we're providing, the service that we're providing, and we're prideful of how we produce the chair to withhold that customer's lifestyle, just like myself and what I went through, with the evolution of our sports chairs and what setups work and what isn't going to break or leave you stranded in a championship game or in a crucial moment, with equipment that's not ready for that. So.
Definitely. So it's all about the consumer. Can you tell us a bit about the PER4MAX athletes? I guess kind of just describing the people and what they do and who they are that use these chairs.
I mean, it's an active disabled individual, that is parenting on the weekends and playing on the weekends, right? It could be everything. So just really, for that young, freshly disabled individual to know that, man, there's equipment out there that's going to allow me to still get out to my kid's soccer game. It's still going to allow me to go strap up and compete in wheelchair tennis or basketball or football or something and have that extracurricular. It's going to open up a whole world of other individuals that are maybe in similar circumstances, and a new peer group of people that are going through things that can understand and relate. Of course, we have our loved ones and our family, in that support system, but also as a disabled individual, it's important for me to have other people that I know that I'm close with that are amputees or going through similar things, because you can talk about things on a different level, in an understanding, and not of like someone feeling bad or seeing, oh, you're in a wheelchair, what a shame. It's those people can relate to those things, and that's the stigma we want to break, right? Versus like you talk the nitty gritty or the functionality of what you're going through and those nuances of each individual disability. So it's good to have a friend or a peer with that, and that's what I think this sport kind of opened up is opportunity for that, and I think that's a huge benefit, right, of adaptive sport in wheelchair basketball as a whole.
Definitely. I'm getting lots of Matt Scott vibes listening to you speak. Y'all are speaking a very similar way about the PER4MAX family and things, which I love. I also interviewed him and he was awesome. But that to say, very similar, I guess, pride in the company as well. I'm proud of the
Yeah.
product.
Well, he's like a brother from Michigan for me too, right? We grew up as like, playing together or against each other every single weekend, right? And now that relationship is strong, right? I think Willie saw stuff in him at a young age, and we were both coming up together. That generation of player that came through that timeline. There's a lot of greats, right? And a lot of them actually came from Michigan. So you're touching on Matt Scott. I touched on Paul Schulte. There's a lot of other people that are big players in the wheelchair basketball world still today that are in the Michigan area. So that's cool. And a lot of them are PER4MAX supporters. You have Bushy that's coaching University of Illinois program. And they're huge asset to what we do as well. We're happy to support a lot of these universities and a lot of these people, that we grew up with are now in these positions where they're coaching and they're running programming and creating, series, right. And allowing us all to have our platform and show, what we're doing. So
definitely. I love that. I didn't realize when I started this journey how big adaptive sport was in Michigan. I didn't know that was, I guess, kind of a hub. I think maybe Midwest, kind of. I'm not sure. I feel like I hear a lot of things in Ohio or Illinois as well, kind of in that area, but I had no idea. And I think that's so cool that so many of these big names have come out of Michigan as well.
Yeah. And it's just, Mary Free Bed has a rehab hospital here in West Michigan, and they have a lot of programming for all adaptive sports. And it's starting from entry-level kids all the way on through, right? So there's a lot of opportunities. I know the Detroit area has had a lot of different programs and teams throughout the years as well. You're starting to see interest now with the universities. University or Michigan State University has been doing adaptive sports for over a decade now, which is great to see. They have sheds full of chairs and equipments that are there for adaptive athletes, not as well as the able-bodied community, right? Because that experience that someone has in college, if there's a wheelchair sports team on campus or an opportunity for them, I think that sticks when they go on to be OTs and PTs and program directors and gym teachers or whatever. They implement those things down the road. So it's really cool to see. We've had elementary and middle schools buying sports chairs for just programming, PE programming, right? A kid in the district has a disability. Let's have extra equipment available so we can do that peer-to-peer, right? That's what we talk about. Is so important. Let those other, those able-bodied kids experience, a sports chair, and not like a hospital chair or something clunky, right? Oh, I've been in a wheelchair at my grandma's, or I was at the hospital. Like an actual, piece of equipment that's built to compete is, I think it's eye-opening for everyone to experience. So.
Absolutely. Totally agree. I think that's awesome. And I wish that more people had that. I wish that more people had that opportunity, I think that would be really great for, I guess, raising the awareness of adaptive sport or everywhere, not just within the sport itself. But I guess I want to kind of jump to some questions that some people submitted online, like from our listeners, which is super fun. But I think everybody's super excited about this series of PER4MAX, and they want to kind of know where PER4MAX is going, or if there are any goals within the next few months or years, however you want to take this question, feel free. But yeah, what's kind of coming up next for PER4MAX?
Well, there's just it's been a boom, I feel like, in adaptive sports, right? And the pandemic has been good in a sense because it's, I think, forced people to continue to improve themselves if they can, and if they can do that through equipment, that's great. So one milestone that we're kind of ending is this year was a big preparation year for us for Tokyo, right? Making sure all of our athletes were ready to go, not only in the US, there's athletes around the world, but specifically equipment wise, right? Making sure that everyone's stuff is ready to go. And then, moving forward is okay, how can we continue to support, now it's a rebuilding situation. Not only are we supporting those entry-level kids, getting them in equipment, finding grants, we have amazing partners in a different, all these different communities that are that are so focused on helping kids start out these adaptive sports, and where that goes for them is just so exciting, right? There's so many opportunities and avenues now. So, it's obviously bigger for us than just how many chairs that we can build per week, per month, per year. Obviously, that's a big important part of our business because we want to give back and we want to help all this, but at the end of the day, PER4MAX we're a small business, right? We have 15 employees, and they're very hardworking individuals. So, a lot of the glory, goes to those guys for helping us create, and produce this equipment that's impacting lives, right? It's such a bigger purpose. But moving forward, it's just continue to innovate and adapt, right? You're faced with different struggles every day. There's different disabilities that we want to, provide better setups around. There's better materials that we're out there that we're pursuing to produce our equipment with. So that constant progression and improvement is something that's kind of always at the PER4MAX, spirit, right? We're always wanting to improve, and we know there's always ways to do things better, internally, externally, within the business, on the business. Obviously, getting the word out, right, about what we do is huge, and it's amazing now that we have, the platforms we do to continue to reach people, and grow our brand and grow, what our brand is about. So, biggest thing for us moving forward, I think, is just to continue to support those who support us, right? Those individual athletes and those individual programs that have fundraising, goals and targets to meet, or whether it's equipment or helping out, sponsoring snack time at a tournament, any of that kind of stuff, right? We want to make contributions back as much as we can. Obviously, it can only be so much, but it's great people and partners that support us, right? That help us give back. And I think that's what's the most important is just continuing to take care of our community and not be gimmicky or understand. I mean, we are a group of disabled individuals producing chairs for disabled individuals, right? Understanding all those needs and specific requirements. I'm not saying every single person in a wheelchair is like appropriate for PER4MAX. There's different, I guess, silos of wheelchair users, right? But we're not only athletes, and we're not only, it's active disabled individuals, and it can be everywhere from your sports chair if you're trying to compete for, gold medals in, Paris or LA, or if you are freshly injured and you want to, experience adaptive sports at an entry level, right? So that's one thing too, is like, we don't ever want to be exclusive to anybody, or, PER4MAX is only like, high performance athlete. No, we are for everybody. We put 2-year-old kids in wheelchairs, that other people won't, right? Because the healthcare system or structure isn't structured. Oh, your 2-year-old kid doesn't need a wheelchair. You don't know if they're going to walk. Well, this kid I know can move around and can play and interact with their other kids at splash tables and all those other. So that's the biggest thing, right? Is like people embracing the wheelchair as like a tool, right, to get where you need to go. That's the most important thing. It's been a tool for me my entire life, right? I was introduced to wheelchair basketball. Yes, that sport was amazing, but that wheelchair has been a tool. It's been a tool to, to make friends, to compete, to play at a high level, to wear USA on my chest, to go to college. And now it's a tool to produce and help others, right? And I hope other people can listen to that, and that triggers something in them, understanding like, yeah, this wheelchair is a tool, right? It's a tool for me to be independent. It's a tool for me to be competitive. It's a tool for me to get an education, or, and that's all kind of embodied into success, right? And so that's what we want, is we want our users to be successful in whatever they do. And we want that chair to help them get there, so.
For sure. I hear the passion and drive. Just from hearing you talk about it, I can tell that you really mean it. And I think that that's true for everybody I've spoken to in this series as well. But I love it. I love the passion. I'm all for it. I can't wait to see what happens in the next few years too. I know there's going to be lots of exciting things, and I'm super excited. When I was watching Tokyo, I was up, in the middle of the night, like I'm sure everybody else was, watching these games, and I was like, PER4MAX, like I see them everywhere now. And then that's actually what made me reach out. But
I appreciate that.
all over the court. I love it. But
well, awesome. We worked hard to do that, and and that's to the players, right? Like there's no, they earned their position there. You know, they worked super hard to get there too. And, you know, a lot of those guys we've been supporting for, you know, a long time, if not their entire careers, right? So when you talk about evolution of equipment and evolution of athlete, right, you have to make sure that your equipment stays up to where you are athletically and where you're going, you know. So I think you saw that perfect mesh, right, of, you know, that chair and body becoming one, and especially seeing it at that highest level, it's really impressive, and it's great and amazing to see. And hopefully it's like shocking when people see the speed and the precision involved with the game, right? And how this equipment is just enhanced that, you know. So I think that as you see evolution in, you know, wheelchairs, you know, the athlete too, right? You're seeing all, you know, all these world records happen, all these things, because, you know, we're training smarter, harder, we're understanding, you know, all those components, maximizing every single thing. And whether it's, you know, incremental increases, you know, in the chair, or your physicality, or your diet, or your sleep, or your hydration, right? All that stuff kind of combines. And I think it's great to see, you know, athletes understanding that the importance of your chair setup is almost as important as all your other preparations. Matt, you know, spent all summer working on a new setup to go to Tokyo, and that's great to see. Athletes, you know, athletes have that option with us, right? Like, he kind of moved to Texas, we worked on these setups, and, you know, other athletes too, you know, he's not the only one that we provided chairs for. But, you know, when you're working with that level of precision, and, you know, athletes that are looking for a certain feel, that feedback and that interaction is so important, you know. So
For sure. I love it. Awesome. I have two questions for you, two questions left. These are the last two that I wrap up every episode with. But first, could you kind of tell us about an important person, or maybe a mentor, or somebody who's kind of helped guide you in your wheelchair basketball career?
yeah, I mean, two people really stick out, if that's okay, if I can throw two.
Yeah,
And
for
one,
sure.
I'm still in communication with almost daily, Lee Montgomery. He's a Hall of Fame wheelchair basketball player, sit volleyball player, tennis player, local to here, or, you know, to West Michigan, I should say, and I think a legend within the adaptive sports community. And I feel so lucky and blessed to have him close. I named my kid after him, McCoy Montgomery Kommer. So, you know, we're close, and he's just been there, you know, for basketball, for life. Just, it's so much more than just a basketball coach, right? In tying into that, you know, Paul Schulte was a big part of what I saw as potential and where wheelchair basketball could bring me. You know, I was a kid, and he was graduating and going to college for a full ride, and I was on his team, and would watch these things, and I would be totally amazed and in awe, right, of him, and Lee for that matter, at that timeline. So not only as a basketball player, but then as a person, right, to go to college, become an engineer, and he, you know, and he's, you know, the GM for Top End Wheelchairs, right? So I mean, you would think that would be a, you know, a rivalry. It's not. I don't look at it like that. I mean, you know, he's kind of, we're in the same market, right? We're producing wheelchairs. You know, they make amazing hand cycles and racing chairs, things that we don't offer at PER4MAX. But yeah, nonetheless, it's him showing the way. And then obviously my partner Willie, you know, has been involved with that from the start too. So I mean, it's hard to just say one person, right? Because I feel so lucky. I've had so many amazing people along the way that have taken me under their wing a little bit and showed me a way or a direction. And that's wheelchair basketball, right? And that's wheelchair sports and adaptive sports that brought me into that. So, but those two people specifically stick out. And then, you know, hopefully me and Willie are still writing our storybook, you know, and our success story, and in our impact, you know, that we were able to make on this. You know, it's been 21 years of grind for him, you know, a little, you know, 11, 12 for me now on this, you know, so hopefully we just continue to make those impacts, right, and create other mentors for people down the road. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of kids that look up to Matt Scott and Steve Serio and our athletes, you know, Brian Bell, and you know, the ladies, Rose Hollerman. I mean, there's people now for these younger girls to look up to. Darlene Hunter, if she's been on, and you know, her message is always so powerful, and it's so important for young ladies to hear. Steph Wheeler at U of I too, right? So all those people can be amazing mentors to anyone that's listening to this, and in, you know, for every walk of life, for sure. So
Definitely. Definitely. I love it. I think that's a great thing that you can't just pick one person, right? The circle's big, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I wish I had notes. I could just
Yeah.
like, like a Grammy Award winner, post
For sure.
post interview. I want to thank this person, this person, this person. So
I love it. Awesome. Last question for you. What is one piece of advice you would give to younger Chris?
yeah, that's tough, but I think it would always just be like trust the process and trust your instincts, right? Looking back, I think so many people, including myself, they struggle with like the uncertainty or where to go. Am I making these right decisions? And I can say, trusting your instincts is good. Clearing your mind, trusting your instincts, and what what your heart and your mind kind of tell you is right. Um, a lot of times younger people tend to like look outward for the answers that they need versus inward, right? So yeah, no one's going to tell you the secret recipe for success. It's kind of your own internal thing. Trying to make clear, concise decisions in trusting in yourself and in your work and your work ethic, your instincts, all of those things I think are super important. There's times, yeah, as a younger man, you're very tense and urgent about things and wanting to make things happen, take action before really thinking things through. So slow down a little bit and think through. I want to say that in the basketball side of things, though, I wouldn't be slowing things down. If anyone that I play with, I would say continue to go hard. Hard in the paint all the time is the way to go on the court for sure.
The balance, right? The balance.
Right. That's the outlet.
Yes.
So
Yes. I love it. I love ending the show on this question too, because hopefully, I don't know, there's a young athlete or something that needs a little bit of motivation, and this is what they can take away at the very end. But
yeah.
Chris, thank you so
Well,
much.
if they're horrible decision makers, then don't trust your instinct. But,
I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I appreciate you giving me some of your time today.
Yeah, no worries. And I look forward to, seeing the episodes and sharing all of, the amazing stories and content that you've been creating. So
Chris, thanks so much for coming on the show to share your story and the story of PER4MAX. Join us next week for another episode of Adventures with Aggie powered by PER4MAX.